The compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken KFC with the news at this time. I'm Dennis Chabrol. Good evening. First, the highlights. We tell you this hour that the Regional Democratic Council meeting for Region 4 adjourned earlier today after an AFC councillor whose name a no confidence motion is in against the chair and vice chair was exposed to a COVID positive person. The secretary to the Local Government Commission, Nikolai Price, was today sent an administrative leave to pave the way for an investigation into alleged misconduct. And we also tell you this hour locally that a gold mine worker has died in a pit cave-in. A man from Sophia has been charged with break and enter and larceny committed at a woman's house in Currentine, Berbice. And in the region, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago is predicting that the global supply chain clogs at major US and UK ports will have a very serious ripple effect on the importation of goods to Trinidad and Tobago. And the students in Antigua and Barbuda who are not vaccinated will be removed from the physical classroom. Internationally, US President Joe Biden unveils a revamped $1.75 trillion spending plan on Thursday, calling it a historic investment in the country's future. The details of these and other stories in a moment.
After a hard day's work, a lime at the workplace would be great, and a lime at the workplace with KFC would be even better, with a wide choice of finger-licking meals in a wide range of sizes. It could be the celebration of a colleague's birthday or promotion, or just a lime for no reason at all. Any lime, anytime, anywhere is better and tastier with a delicious meal from any of KFC's 9 locations, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. The Region 4 Demerara Mahaica Council meeting was today adjourned after an Alliance for Change councillor who wants to sponsor a no-confidence motion against the Vice Chairman Samuel Sanley refused to leave on the grounds that he was exposed to a COVID-19 positive person. Regional Chairman Daniel Seram says Councillor Amarnath Chenkan will be reprimanded for his behavior at the next scheduled meeting. There was an exchange from the floor to the chair.
I will not leave because you now tell me that
this meeting is adjourned in the interest of public health of all councillors.
If you like to adjourn it, because you know I'm short. You never send me something official. You're sending messages to me. What an idiot. He's afraid of what's going to happen to me. I don't have it. I just came from the area so I got tested again. I'm not going to answer you. This, you know, really, son, what they call it, moon or something, they catch him. You catch up and I used to.
Mr. Chenkan insists that he was tested negative twice, once last week and again today. However, he did not provide any proof of his test result. Regarding the no-confidence motion against the chairman and the vice chairman, the regional chairman says he relied on the law, a precedent against the former Region 4 chairman Clement Corlett, and a parliamentary procedure to remove the motion from the agenda.
There's no motion currently before us. A motion was submitted on the 24th of October, 2021. I would have examined such a motion, right, and I would have dismissed such a motion. Right? The motion that came before me in its content, right, after going through the 2801, the 2809, and this parliamentary standing order, is of no material effect, inconsequential, a waste of time of my counsel, and strictly political in its crafting. Therefore, in giving all of the reasons that I've given so far, I decided not to entertain such a motion and I dismissed it.
Mr. Chenkan insists that the regional chairman could not unilaterally throw out the motion, but by a decision of the council only. Alliance for Change AFC councillor Nielsen McKenzie says he's now looking forward to the next council meeting because ultimately they'll want to move the council forward. The AFC has already publicly criticized APNU for breaking a formal agreement that the AFC would have been supported for the position of vice chairman. However, when it was actually put to a vote last year, the APNU nominated Messrs. Seram and Sanley for both the chairmanship and vice chairmanship. The secretary to the Local Government Commission, Nikolai Price, was Thursday sent on administrative leave to pave the way for an investigation into alleged misconduct, but he has already denied the allegation. LGC Chairman Julius Faber says the investigation will be conducted by the commissioners to determine if there is sufficient evidence to send the matter for further action. The LGC chairman told News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM the matter is an internal one involving 2 staff members. The commission is first doing its own internal probe and may probably ask for external assistance if it warrants that approach. Despite the fact that the government enjoys a 5-seat majority, the chairman is confident that the probe will be impartial as he reposes confidence in the commissioners. The finance manager is acting as secretary to the Local Government Commission in Price's absence. According to Mr. Faber, the probe can take 2 weeks. The decision to send Price in leave was made at Thursday's meeting after considering a letter containing 2 allegations, one of which Mr. Faber described as administrative, from a staff member. An LGC source says he has several other complaints against Mr. Price and he intends to bring them forward during the probe, which could see the investigation lasting more than 1 month. Mr. Faber says the commission is not aware of any other complaints. The prison's authority has confirmed that murder-accused Capildeo Gangadin, who allegedly killed 21-year-old businessman Ganesh Prasad during a robbery on Friday, October 15, escaped from the Luzignan prison this morning. Prison Director Nicklin Elliott says Gangadin was housed in the quarantine unit at the penal institution. He was able to tamper with a tent which gained him entry into the prison farm, where he jumped the gate and escaped into the nearby dump site. He was discovered missing during a routine check at 4 a.m. today. A mobile police patrol had arrested Gangalin, and the jewelry of the victim was found in his possession. Gangalin, at the time of his arrest, admitted to committing the offenses. He stabbed the 21-year-old Ganesh Prasad in the neck and robbed him of cash and the jewelry. Prasad died while receiving treatment at the privately owned Balwant Singh Hospital in Georgetown. The Ministry of Health says the current stock of AstraZeneca vaccines expires at the end of November and appeals to persons who have not taken their second dose to do so now. It was revealed by Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony that a number of persons are yet to take the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
And we currently have the second dose available to them. If they don't come, and by the end of November, if these vaccines then expired, then we don't have any in stock. We'll have to wait until we get another shipment or we purchase another shipment, and that would be a pity because we've had the vaccines, and if people don't come and take it and they expire, then, we'll have to look at other options. And that's very unfortunate because if you get the vaccine, you want to make sure that people use it so that they can protect themselves.
The Ministry of Health is facing an uphill challenge to get persons to return for the completion of their vaccine regimen. Dr. Anthony says the percentage between first and second dose is a wide gap.
Before you can get a second dose, you have to get a first dose. So these numbers are reflective of the percentage of persons who got their first dose and now came back for their second dose. So when you look at how much person got their first dose and how much got their second dose, there's a difference of 139,000 people. So there's still a lot of people who need to come back to get their second dose vaccine.
The Health Ministry has recorded 241,211 adults and 17,898 children ages 12 to 17 who are fully vaccinated, and 380,267 adults and 27,198 children are partially vaccinated as of October 27. Guyana has recorded 98 new cases of the novel coronavirus and 4 more COVID-19 deaths, taking the death toll to 904. Official data shows 23 people were very sick in the COVID ICU, while 57 others are hospitalized receiving treatment. There are 2,832 persons across the country who've tested positive and have been told to isolate themselves at home. The records show an increase in positive cases in the last 24 hours and a decline in the number of persons who are isolating at home. A 49-year-old man of Essex Street, New Amsterdam, has died as a result of the caving in of a mining pit. The incident occurred on October 24. Dead is Bertie John Williams, who was a pitman at a mining operation at White Hole, Backnam, Potaro. Investigators were told that he was working when a portion of the pit's wall caved in, covering him. The other workers managed to escape to safety. The lifeless body of the man was later recovered and taken to the Madhya Regional Hospital, where an official pronouncement of death was given. The body of the deceased is at the hospital. The police have detained 3 Kanji Berbice men for the alleged possession of unlicensed firearms and marijuana possession. Police say a patrol in the Kanji Calabash Creek area on Wednesday noticed 2 men, 39 and 48 years old, in a boat acting suspiciously. Police say they stopped the boat and carried out a search and unearthed 4.5 kilograms of marijuana. The men admitted the illegal drugs belonged to them and they were immediately arrested. And in a separate search acting on information, police say they went to the home of a 51-year-old man who was a cash crop farmer at Kanji Creek, East Berbice. Police say they searched his home in his presence and found an American-made 16-gauge shotgun without a number and one Russian-made 16-gauge shotgun along with 26 12-gauge cartridges under his mattress. The firearms and cartridges were shown to him, and he was then told of the offense committed and cautioned he remained silent. The 2 other suspects, as well as the other man, the narcotics and firearms, were taken to the Central Police Station in New Amsterdam. Police say that a 16-year-old boy is one of 2 persons who confessed to robbing an overseas-based Guyanese woman last Monday at number 73 Village Quarantine, Berbice. Also arrested is a 34-year-old man who was a hire car driver of number 72 Village Quarantine. Police say they're searching for a 3rd suspect. The overseas-based housewife and her son have said that they were robbed of a vehicle and valuables after returning from a wake at number 73 Village Quarantine, Berbice. The suspects had allegedly carted off $150,000 in jewelry, phones, and other items valued at $60,000 and 1 field wagon bearing registration number PTT 864. The suspects used the car to escape the scene. The bandits had forced their way into the house from the door to the lower flat of the 2-storied building. A laborer from Sophia, Greater Georgetown, has been charged with break and enter and larceny at a house in Port Moron's Quarantine, Berbice. Police say 20-year-old Shaquille Flats was today granted $60,000 bail. He was not required to plead. Mr. Flats is accused of break and enter and larceny at the dwelling of Fenella Cozier. The case was postponed to November 22 for a report. In the region, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, yesterday confirmed that global supply chain clogs at major United States and United Kingdom ports will have a very serious ripple effect on the importation of goods to this country. According to international reports, the ports in Los Angeles are so clogged that up to yesterday, some 200,000 cargo ships were waiting to enter and offload. Other ports were facing much of the same situation, with long lines of cargo vessels waiting to offload, load, and leave, but unable to move. It is estimated that the busy global Christmas time goods delivery will be impacted, and consumers in the US and the UK have been warned that it will be months before the situation is back to normal. There is also the related inflation that will see a steady increase in the cost of goods. The Prime Minister warned that effects will reach Trinidad. The Trinidad and Tobago leader says the unavailability of a whole range of the outcomes of imports, general shortages, and significant cost increases across the board should be expected. He says it's the reason the government has encouraged the diet changes to involve local fresh produce, which is cheaper and incidentally much healthier. Minister in the Ministry of Finance Brian Manning yesterday added his concern and confirmed that the ministry was bracing for the higher prices. The meteorological office at the Maurice Bishop International Airport has confirmed that Grenada is affected by volcanic ash from the Cumbre Vieja volcano on the Spanish island of La Palma, which began erupting on 19 September. In a dust hazy advisory for the state of Grenada, the Met Office explained that the hazy conditions that the island has been experiencing for the past 2 days are due to the volcanic ash mixed with Saharan dust. The effect is reduced visibility across the country. The release says the conditions are expected to continue over the coming days, varying in intensity. The National Disaster Management Agency is urging motorists and marine users to exercise increased caution due to reduced visibility, while the Ministry of Health advises people with respiratory challenges such as asthma and other allergies to wear a mask, avoid outdoor contact if possible, ensure they have an adequate supply of medication, and to be in contact with their medical physician. Scientists at the ESA Atmosphere Monitoring Service tracking the ash plume say that initially the plumes of sulfur dioxide from the volcano traveled east from the Canary Islands to northern Africa and southern Europe. However, because of a change in wind direction in early October, the plume is now flowing roughly 5,000 miles across the Atlantic and over the Caribbean. Grenada was also affected by ash plumes from Le Soufriere volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines when it erupted in December 2020. The Antigua and Barbuda government has decided that when school resumes face-to-face classes from next week, students who are not vaccinated will be removed from the physical classroom. Information Minister Melford Nicholas says the students have 14 days within which to take a jab against the potentially deadly COVID-19 virus. Official figures show that 3,000 eligible students in Antigua and Barbuda still remain unvaccinated against COVID-19. Schools across Antigua and Barbuda are set to reopen for face-to-face learning next Tuesday. Already, government has issued a vaccination mandate for all government employees. In Suriname, the third dose of AstraZeneca booster vaccine is being provided to anyone 60 years and older. Priority is given to kidney dialysis patients, people with reduced resistance due to an immune disorder in medication, or provides direct care to people with COVID-19. Health officials say to be eligible for a booster vaccine, it is important that a person has had 2 doses of AstraZeneca and the period from the last shot is at least 5 months. The Ministry of Health says in a press release that a booster vaccine offers extra protection to people whose immune system needs extra stimulation. As a result, the immune system is better prepared for a possible COVID-19 infection, and these people have the same protection as those who have received 2 doses. Public Health, on the advice of a subcommittee of the Technical Advisory Committee on National Immunization Policy, is calling on a number of groups of fully vaccinated people for an extra dose. And we now go to the BBC World Service for the latest bulletin of international news.
Hello, I'm Chris Barrow with the BBC News. After months of tough negotiations within the US Democratic Party, President Biden has announced a framework agreement on economic reform worth nearly $2 trillion. In a televised address just before he left for 2 major summits in Europe, the president said compromise and consensus were the only ways to get big things done in a democracy. Barbara Plett-Usher is in Washington.
They are closer now to saying yes than they have been for some time, and they do want to get it done, so they might. But this is more of an outline of a bill than it is a bill itself. And there are still key elements of it that are being hammered out. I think Mr. Biden wants them to get it done, but also he wants to have something to show when he goes to Europe, to that G20 meeting, and then also to the climate summit in Glasgow. And so he announces this framework to show that he has something in hand. But still, the internal differences within the party have not been completely bridged.
Senior executives from the US oil industry are giving evidence to a congressional committee over claims their firms misled the public about climate change. They've been facing questions from the House of Representatives Oversight Committee. With more, here's Samira Hussain.
There has been a lot of push from Democrats who have been asking questions about just how much oil executives knew in terms of the impact of fossil fuels on climate change. Unsurprisingly, we're hearing a lot of pushback from the likes of Chevron, BP, and Exxon saying that, look, at that particular time in which you're talking about, we used the science and we talked about the science that we had at that time. So to the best of our knowledge, there was no planned disinformation, that we didn't try to downplay the risks of fossil fuels to the environment.
Facebook is changing its corporate name to Meta. The move is designed to represent the brand as it expands beyond social networking and develops plans for a virtual world known as the Metaverse. It was announced by the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg.
I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta. Our mission remains the same. It's still about bringing people together. Our apps and their brands, they're not changing either. And we are still the company that designs technology around people.
He said that from now on, the company would be Metaverse first, not Facebook first. The company has faced criticism that its algorithms promote misinformation and polarization. The World Health Organization has appealed for more than $23 billion over the next 12 months to address deep disparities in the international COVID-19 response. The WHO said the funds would prevent at least 5 million additional deaths and accelerate the end of the pandemic. This is the World News from the BBC. The United Nations Security Council has called on Sudan's new military leaders to restore the civilian-led administration they toppled on Monday. It called for dialogue and the immediate release of political prisoners. Diplomats say the statement was watered down following pressure from Russia and China. The US Justice Department has agreed to pay $88 million to the victims of Dylan Roof, who shot dead 9 black people at a church in South Carolina in 2015. The compensation resolves claims that there were failures in the criminal background check system. In the latest escalation of a dispute between Britain and France over fishing rights, the French ambassador has been summoned to the Foreign Office in London to receive a diplomatic protest. The French authorities earlier detained a British fishing trawler, which they said had been working in French waters without a licence. The company says it was operating legally. Hugh Schofield in Paris explains the French position.
They have not missed an opportunity in the last weeks to come out with some very, very critical language towards the British government. We heard yesterday one minister describing what the British were doing as wiping their feet on the Brexit treaty, and now we see this translated into action with the plan next week to institute these new checks at the border to stop British fishing boats unloading their catch at French ports, and then likewise this action ahead of all this against the trawler off the coast of La Havre. And unless something gives between now and Tuesday, there is the strong risk of severe disruption at the border at Calais.
At least 300 sea turtles have washed up dead on Mexico's Pacific coast. The Environment Ministry said preliminary examinations suggested the olive ridley turtles had drowned, probably in fishing nets. All the turtles were female and were found on a beach on Mexico's western coast, where they'd come to lay their eggs. BBC News.
And that's the news to the moment.
Is it a special occasion? Are you on a budget but still want a filling and oh so mouth-watering meal? Look no further. KFC is here for you with their affordable and finger-licking good meals. Treat your family or friends like royalty without hurting your pockets. KFC is here for you at 9 locations and 6 drive-thrus, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, to make that occasion really special. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
Now to end the news, a recap of the highlights. Locally, a Regional Democratic Council meeting for Region 4 was adjourned today after an Alliance for Change councillor in whose name a no-confidence motion is in against the chair and vice chair was exposed to a COVID-positive person. The secretary to the Local Government Commission was today sent an administrative leave to pave the way for an investigation into alleged misconduct. A gold mine worker has died in a pit cave-in. A man from Sophia has been charged with break and enter and larceny committed in a woman's house in Quarantine Berbice. And regionally, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago Dr. Keith Rowley is predicting that the global supply chain clogs at major US and UK ports will have a very serious ripple effect on the importation of goods to Trinidad and Tobago. Students in Antigua and Barbuda who are not vaccinated will be removed from the physical classroom. And internationally, United States President Joe Biden unveiled a revamped $1.75 trillion spending plan on Thursday, calling it a historic investment in the country's future. The news came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.
Trajectory right from like grassroots right up to the top team, Barcelona, who are European champions at the moment. Spain are the bee's knees, really. They play beautiful football, but they're effective as well. Having said that, I've spoken to the Danish coach and to the Finnish coach, Anna Sinjol, who used to be the Scotland manager, and she says that all teams can take points off each other. And she's right. You know, the Euros are such a tight competition that one slip up and all can go wrong. So that is an exciting group to watch.
The organiser of the flight in which footballer Emiliano Sala died in 2019 has been found guilty by majority verdict of endangering the safety of an aircraft. David Henderson will now be sentenced next month. Lawyers speaking on behalf of Sala's family said Henderson's convictions were welcomed, but his actions were only one piece of the puzzle of how the plane came to crash. Francis Tiafoe fought back from a breakdown in the final set to stun Stefanos Tsitsipas and reach the quarter-finals of the Vienna Open. He'll face Diego Schwartzman next. Alexander Zverev will play Felix Auger-Aliassime in the last 8. And Britain's Women's US Open champion Emma Raducanu has picked up her second WTA Tour victory, beating home player Anna Bogdan in the last 16 of the Transylvania Open. Even though the tournament is being played behind closed doors, her Romanian father was able to watch.
It means a lot that he's here in his home country. He wouldn't usually travel with me, but because it's Romania, I mean, he had to come for sure. He wasn't going to miss the opportunity, but it's great to have him here because he's obviously gone through my whole journey with me, and he wasn't in New York when that special moment happened.
A reminder of today's top stories. South Africa's Quinton de Kock has apologised after refusing to take a knee and says he is not a racist. He's back in the frame for South Africa at the T20 World Cup. Elsewhere at the tournament, Australia beat Sri Lanka by 7 wickets. Sergi Barwan has been named the new interim head coach of Barcelona, replacing Ronald Koeman, who was sacked on Wednesday. And Napoli are now top of Serie A. We'll have further updates throughout the day, but for now, that's the latest world sports from the BBC.
This is the BBC World Service, revealing the Kenyan warriors who are now elephant caretakers.
We walk with them in the bush and we sleep with them in the night. That bond that we have is such strong. Sometimes they are not feeling well. You also feel like you are not okay.
This is a story about people and the animals they protect.
He lost a big part of his trunk. Unfortunately, he got beaten off by a hyena.
Diverse tribes and ethnic groups all coming together.
We have Turkana, we have Pokot, we have Somali, and we understand we were not in good relationship with them before because we normally fight because of our green pastures.
Hear how elephants became a catalyst for peace with me, Michael Kaloki.
All those elephants has brought us together.
Warrior Elephant Guardians, Tuesday at 9:20 GMT.
Coming up in World Business Report shortly, oil companies are grilled about their responsibility for the planet by a congressional committee, and Facebook's founder Mark Zuckerberg, well, he makes a big change.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do. I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
We'll tell you all about that after the very latest world news.
BBC News with Chris Barrow. President Biden has announced a framework agreement on economic reform worth nearly $2 trillion. It's the culmination of months of tough negotiations within his Democratic Party. The president quipped that not everyone got everything they wanted, not even me. Senior oil executives have denied in testimony to a US congressional committee that they or their companies deliberately misled the world about climate change. The chair of the House of Representatives Oversight Committee accused the industry of a coordinated campaign to mislead the public and derail global efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. A new report says that Brazil's greenhouse gas emissions rose by 9.5% last year, mostly because of deforestation. The Climate Observatory, a coalition of Brazilian environmental groups, said the rise was driven largely by farming and cattle ranching and the clearance of Amazon rainforest. Facebook is changing its corporate name to Meta as it expands beyond social media to focus on areas like virtual reality. The rebrand comes as the company faces intense scrutiny over its impact on society, with allegations that its algorithms promote misinformation and hate. The French ambassador has been summoned to the Foreign Office in London in the latest escalation of a row over fishing rights. France earlier detained a British fishing trawler, which they said had been working in French waters without a licence. Uganda's president has announced that schools will be reopened in January, almost 2 years after they were closed because of the COVID pandemic. Yoweri Museveni said this would happen regardless of how many people were vaccinated. The former New York governor Andrew Cuomo has been charged with a sex offence. A misdemeanor complaint has been filed against him, allegedly for forcible touching. He resigned in August after a report concluded that he sexually harassed 11 women. He has strenuously denied the charges. BBC News.
Hello, this is World Business Report from the BBC World Service with me, Rahul Tandon. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up, top oil company executives have been appearing before a congressional panel accused of misleading the public about the role of fossil fuels in causing global warming. We'll tell you what happened there. We'll also hear about how climate change is affecting the wine industry.
It means that, of course, we have less production. So, for example, in the 2017, that probably has been one of the worst years, talking about the weather, we lost 40% of the production.
And later on, why China is imposing limits on the ambitions of property developers' plans for new skyscrapers. But let's start the programme in the United States.
The committee will come to order. This is a historic hearing. For the first time, top fossil fuel executives are testifying together before Congress under oath about the industry's role in causing climate change and their efforts to cover it up. For far too long, big oil has escaped accountability for its central role in bringing our planet to the brink of a climate catastrophe. That ends today.
That is the Democratic Congresswoman Caroline B. Maloney formally opening a committee hearing where top executives of major Western oil companies are facing a grilling for the first time in front of the US Congress. They're accused of misleading the public about climate change. The companies say they hope to highlight their recent efforts on the issue. They've also been defending their actions, saying their understanding of climate change has developed over time. Darren Woods is the CEO of ExxonMobil.
ExxonMobil has long recognized that climate change is real and poses serious risks. But there are no easy answers. As the International Energy Agency has said, oil and gas will continue to be necessary for the foreseeable future. We currently do not have the adequate alternative energy sources.